everyone, Allie here with Run Pure Sports to shout out our hosts who had great calls last week and our members who are coming off a huge week where they shipped over $1.2 million in prizes. Congrats to our very own Bobby who landed a ticket to the DraftKings Live NFL Final in Miami.
He called it a touchdown! Woo!
Touchdown, Ayuk!
Let's go!
Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!
Bobby made a huge call on 2% owned running back Rashad Penny, who ended up with a slate-breaking score of over 29 fantasy points on DraftKings. Penny also landed on Run Pure Sports member The Man 11's 100K winning lineup on FanDuel, continuing the trend of six-figure hits for RPS members. On our Sunday morning Wood Show, Hoop body bagged everyone with his Hunter Renfrow call. Congrats to him for sticking to his guns with his rich parents play of the day while everyone else made fun of him. Renfrow went on to have a monster 30-point day for the Hoopster.
At this one with my boy Renfrow, I just cannot wait. Cannot wait. And this could be it because I'm feeling good about it. Where he gets that 30 piece, I can just.
So how many weeks does it count for, like 3 seasons?
How many guys in the NFL go for 30? Like, there's not many guys.
And he's not going to be one of them, I'll tell you that, Hoop. But you'll get.
You finally jumped in. Thank you.
He flipped on me.
Big T continued the good mojo Sunday night with his call to start Jakeem Grant in Sunday night's Showdown slate.
The guy that's going to win the slate, I'm always good when I pop in at the last second like this, is Jakeem Grant. Mark my words.
Grant went on to have 2 touchdowns, shipping Big T first in Yahoo's single game tournament. Run Pure Sports member Anger Tornado joined Big T on the Jakeem Grant play to bank a first-place finish in the DraftKings Showdown tournament, taking home over $13,000. Also, big congrats to Run Pure Sports member Swint, who took home $20K in MMA. Bad Lab joined our free MMA show the day of the event to lay out all of the best plays. Our guests have been killing it lately, so make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any of our free shows. If you are not already a Run Pure Sports member, now is the best time to join. We partnered with SaberSim to offer a huge package deal where you can get access to all of Run Pure Sports content, along with SaberSim's industry-leading optimizer and projection system. All you have to do is simply use promo code SABER15. This will knock 15% off our already low combo price for the life of the subscription and save you even more money. That comes out to be just under $130 a month for the RPS and SaberSim combo. Or you can add in our bet side and bump it to just $140 a month. That's an incredible value, which would normally cost $190 a month with separate subscriptions. But act now because this deal expires on Thursday. So what are you waiting for? Join today and let's run pure.
Picking winners is what it is. We pick winners here. We do a bet side and we do a DFS side. And then I sit here and I talk. And if I think I got something to chime in, I will. We got 2 of the best in the business here. Kegger Kloss. Hello, Mr. Keg. Wonderful to see you once again. And Mangone, who sounds like he's a little bit sick, but he's not. He feels great, he tells me. So this is great. And we'll find out about his voice in just a moment. But Kegger Kloss, wonderful to see you. You picked out the games this week. We'll talk about a Saturday game with the Pats and the Colts. We're not talking about the Browns game because everybody's on the COVID list. Then on Sunday, Titans Steelers, Packers Ravens, Seahawks Rams, Saints Bucks, Bengals Broncos. Every game has playoff implications. And really the only team that's not in the mix at this point is Seattle. And they're in the NFC. So I suppose they're kind of in the mix. And we'll talk Thursday night too at the end with Kansas City and LAC. Mr. Kegger Kloss, how are you? What is going on? Thank you for waking up early on this day.
I mean, all I did was put Kegger Kloss on my Twitter, bro. I mean, that's
I like it.
Listen, you figure if you have the body type, you might as well play the part. So, yeah, I'm Kegger Kloss.
Yeah, you know what I look like when I wear my Santa? I look like, and Mangone's gonna have no idea about this movie. Trading Places, Dan Aykroyd Santa Claus. Do you remember that? You haven't seen that either? God damn, you guys, we have the most uncultured staff in the history of the world. Like, none of you guys know anything about pop culture.
I just said phenomenal.
Oh, I saw you do this, and I jumped to conclusions. My bad. Do you remember Dan Aykroyd eating salmon with his hands with a beard, and he's skinny and disgusting? That was me. So Halloween, I went as Santa Claus, and I told people I was Dan Aykroyd. So that was good. Anyways, let's just move on. Hi, Mango.
Well, hold on real quick with your trading places thing. I have a bad take. People always tell me it's terrible, but this is like a take that not that I live by it, but I think it's pretty strong. I think it's pretty accurate. But I've been alive for 31 years on this earth, Holden. If I haven't heard of it, right? If I have not heard anything about it, and it's before 1990, and I haven't heard of it in the 31 years I've been alive, it's probably like not necessary, like to check out. I don't need to check out Trading Places. I don't think. I bet it's not.
Fine, don't. You're lost.
Have you really never heard of that movie?
No, literally never heard of it, but I haven't heard of a lot of movies, to be fair. So you can have a good time playing the, have you ever heard of this movie or seen this movie? Right. And like, there's a lot that I haven't seen. So, but yeah, I don't know. I probably won't end up seeing it, but I'm not a huge, I'll watch a movie, but I won't go out of my way to do it. Right. Yeah. If you told me, Keg, if you were like, hey, you want to watch a movie? I'll watch it, but I'm not going to go out of my way to like put the movie on or anything like that.
That's fair.
I don't think it's fair at all. I was not alive in the 60s, and yet The Graduate is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Oh, well, hold on. I've heard of The Graduate in my 31 years of being alive, so it passes the test, right?
Oh,
I've already heard of it. Like, it's a classic. That's considered a classic already. That's
Trading Places is a comedic classic, and yes. I recommend it.
Maybe. I mean, I know the chat will have fun with this.
Yeah. And on top of that, the two old guys, what was, I don't remember their names, but they kind of,
it was Mortimer and
Mortimer and some other guy, and they are legends now. And they even came back in the movie, The Campaign. Now that movie came out less than 15 years ago, Mangone. Have you ever seen The Campaign?
I haven't seen The Campaign, but I've heard of it, Holden. That's fine, right? Like it's something that I can put on the list of things that I can watch, right? But again, like if I haven't heard of it, then I'm like, then it must not be something that was that great because no one's talked about it in my 31 years of being alive. So there we go. Okay, well, let's get into the football then. We got a Saturday game. We got a little Patriots and Colts. It is an indoor game, so that is good unless I don't even know if you can open the roof out there in Indianapolis, but before we get to that first game, one more thing to tell you. We have a new partner with optimization and projectization. It is SaberSim. And Mangone, you can tell us about SaberSim in just a second, but 15% off our new package, 190 monthly value for $127.50. You get both the Run Pure Sports and Showdown site. And I'm telling you, if you're not doing Showdowns, you're missing out. It's been the most profitable thing during football season. You also get the bet side with Kegger and SaberSim, which I'm learning now, and I absolutely love it. Tell us a little bit more about SaberSim, Mr. Mangone. All right, so SaberSim is great, and today's Wednesday, so that means we have literally only one more day to get in the SaberSim deal. And if you say, oh, Hoop always just extends the deal, right? No, not so fast. That's not happening this time because there's other guys that basically will, make sure that Hoop can't extend that deadline. And Hoop is a dad. He wakes up early. So Thursday morning, he said, I'm shutting the door Thursday morning right after the kids get off the bus. So you need to make sure to get in today, tonight. Do not procrastinate. Get it done. Saber 15. Get you 15% off. You get all of the Run Pure Sports content, and you get the SaberSim Optimizer. Now, the SaberSim Optimizer is awesome. You got our projections, you got the SaberSim projections, whichever one you want to use. You got some ownership in there. You got everything that you can need. You can build lineups. All the projections update, and it's just an awesome tool to use. I think a lot of people that don't use optimizers, they are a little intimidated by it. Well, it's one of the best that I've seen in the industry. I absolutely love it. I think there's great reasons to use this one, that one. Maybe you use one of the other ones on another site and you like it, but I think it's worth trying out and testing because I think it's the best one that we have in the industry. Ultimately, SaberSim is a great thing to get. If you're basically a DFS grinder, and if you've been doing this for a while too as well, and you're like a little uneasy about like doing it, shoot me a DM, shoot someone a DM and be like, hey, like, why should I get it? Right. I'm happy to sell you on it more and tell you why, and endlessly just explain why I think it's a great deal that you should get in on. Like I said, there's more to it. It's just, I used to hand build a ton. I know some people hand build, but I think using an optimizer is the way to go. And I think if you're not doing it, you're crazy in my opinion. But hey, some people, they're pretty good at that. They're pretty good at just hand building and doing that other stuff. But I think using an optimizer is very key. Again, we have it for every sport. We have it for college basketball. We have it for NBA, NFL. It doesn't matter. We got all the sports for you guys covered. And it's definitely a great buy.
Okay, let us do this. Get into the game. Saber 15. And you get the bet side. Saber 15. SABER 15. Patriots Colts, Mr. Kegerklaus. God, I love that name. Patriots plus 2.5 on the road at the Colts. Bill Belichick's team is a dog on the road. Colts need to win this game for the playoff picture. They are playing some pretty decent football. Let me get your thoughts on the side in this game first, Keg, and then the total sitting here at 45, and it looks kind of spot on.
Yeah, the Patriots have been rolling for a long time now, and this might sound like a weird thing to say to people that are always looking to jump on the front runners, but it's almost impossible for me to bet on a team that's won 7 games in a row and covered, I think, every game but one in that 7-game span in the NFL, because football is a different beast than baseball, where you should never be betting on a team just because they're, quote, due to lose when they're on a current winning streak. The parity in the NFL and the way even the best teams tend to lose multiple times in a 7 or 8 game span, I just would never bet on the Patriots on the road against a solid team when they're going for their 8th win in a row. So the Pats are off the table for me automatically. The Colts, I think, have finally put it together behind a very strong running game the last 5 weeks. And in that 5-week span, they had the really nice win against the Bills. They were competitive against the Bucs. But I'm concerned that 3 of the 4 wins on this current win streak have come against the Jets, the Jaguars, and the Texans. And that leads me to a question: how good has this team looked recently, really? So I don't really know the answer to that because of the recent level of competition. But if you were asking me for a lean, it would be the Colts minus 2.5 here at home. I would lean slightly to the Colts. But it'll probably end up being a pass for me on the side. As far as the total, I think both these teams have been putting up points in bunches. So the total seems reasonable to me at 45 to go over. So I'll slightly lean over, slight lean towards the Colts. And that's about all I got here.
Yeah, not a lot, huh? I got Kendrick Bourne over 40.5 receiving yards. I know this thing was at 36, then it jumped to 40.5. I think 42.5 is where I'm seeing it at some books now. So I just think Bourne goes out there and has another good game. Him and Myers have been utilized well in the passing game, and maybe people are just still burnt from that win game where Mac Jones didn't pass. So I like Bourne this week. I think it's a good play. Let's see what you think of him in DFS, though, Mr. Mangone. Patriots, Colts. This could be a showdown slate because of everything that's going on with the Browns. Just some quick thoughts on New England and Indianapolis, since it will be on Saturday.
Yeah, hopefully it's not a showdown slate. That would be a little lame, but hey, we'll take it. Football on a Saturday sounds like a fun time no matter what. Do you know Damian Harris's status for this game? I know he was kind of questionable. Is that true, Holden? Is that still holding up?
Yes.
All right.
Yes,
So if that's the case, right, Stevenson is going to be a guy that I absolutely love in this spot. I mean, you just can't ignore him. Definitely someone that I am going to be looking to roster. Myers and Aguilar, definitely interesting options with Mac Jones. Let's say you do think that Jonathan Taylor is just going to run all over this team. Well, what's that going to mean? Mac Jones will probably be trailing, and they'll be throwing to Myers, Aguilar, all these other guys. So would not be ignoring them in this spot. The one thing that's nice about the Colts, they're sort of predictable, where it's you just know, if they're going to put up 28 to 35 points, a lot of that usage gets funneled to Wentz. It gets funneled to Taylor. It gets funneled to Pittman, which is nice. And if there is a 2-game slate, it's just nice not having to do the guessing game with that. So I do think that this Colts team is going to be one to look at. It's also in a dome. So if you are on that 2-game slate, this game's in a dome, while that Browns game, it is not in a dome. And that matters a ton when it comes to DFS. It's a 39 total versus a 45.5 total. So that's going to matter a ton. We don't know what's going to happen with that game. If we do have Showdown, I assume because of the way the slate is structured, you're not going to have a lot of really high up spends on the Patriots side. So Jonathan Taylor will likely be a really popular captain option. Not saying Jonathan Taylor isn't going to have a good game. I think he's a great captain option. If you do play him, one of the routes of probably making a unique team is leaving salary on the table because he's going to cost a ton. And I think that would be one of the smarter routes to go. If you do have Jonathan Taylor on your teams, I would definitely do my best to leave salary on the table if you have him in the captain spot. You can go for some of these other receivers, though. It just depends what their price tags are going to be. And that definitely could be a route to be able to get in a lot of really good options. So I do think that a guy like Kendrick Bourne holding could be a really interesting captain option. And I do think people will sleep on Mac Jones and Carson Wentz as captains just because, like, I don't know, it feels gross to roster them in the captain spot, and everyone's going to gravitate towards Taylor. So I don't know. It's definitely an interesting look to consider the quarterbacks because they've been going under-owned in Showdown so much this year. I mean, it's just been insane how much they've been under-owned, and I would definitely be looking at them and maybe even considering him over Jonathan Taylor based on what I'm thinking the ownership is going to be, because Taylor's just going to be very, very high owned in the captain spot.
I'm fascinated to see the unstoppable force, Jonathan Taylor against the immovable object and Bill Belichick. It's almost cliche at this point. He takes away your best option. Well, he's their best option. I mean, that's the reason why they've been rolling. Okay, hit the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Run Pure Sports. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the bets side as well, Run Pure Bets. Our next game to get into, Kegger, let's do some Titans and some Steelers talk. Steelers still in the mix. Titans definitely looking for some playoff seeding here. -1.5 for Tennessee on the road against Pittsburgh. 41.5 is the total now. And listen, Ben Roethlisberger, for as bad as we say he is, he's been better at managing these games, I suppose. The Titans, on the other hand, Tannehill just has been hot garbage without Derrick Henry. It's been tough watching him play and struggle the way he has. But somehow, some way, the Titans and the Steelers, couple teams, playoff implications here. Give me the rundown on the side and the total, my friend.
Yeah, I wish we had a chance to see this Titans team at full strength all year, because I think they would have made some noise in the AFC. Now, I still think we might see them at full strength going into the playoffs, because there's a shot that we see Henry. But even so, I think they're a solid football team. They probably have the 5 best consecutive wins all year. So they did struggle last week, though. They might have won that game 20-0, but 3.8 yards per play on offense against the Jaguars is really, really bad. Now, you can make the argument that they jumped out early. They were up 17-0. So maybe they just sat on it, which brought the yards per play down. But, even still, I do think that this Titans team is a solid team, and I think they're better than the Steelers, definitely. As far as the Steelers, I feel like we say the same shit every week about this team. Nothing changes. Big Ben's beyond dusty. He holds the offense back. The Steelers' defense is average right now, blah, blah, blah. So they had no business being remotely in that game last week. They were severely outplayed for 3 quarters. They would have scored nowhere near the amount of points that they did in the 4th quarter if it wasn't for Mike Zimmer doing everything in his power to try to give that game away. And that's really it to me. So I have the Titans about 4 points better than the Steelers on a neutral. So the line seems accurate right now. I don't really see an edge as a 2-point favorite on the road for the Titans. So the side feels like a pass to me. As far as the total, 41.5 seems a little low, but you bring up a good point. Tannehill has certainly not looked the same since Henry hasn't played, but 41.5 is low. You can look at Detroit and Denver last weekend. You and I were on the under. That game should have been a dead nut under.
We almost got it too, Keg. We almost got it.
I know. Like they go for it on 4th down from like 40. All they have to do is go 4 yards, and we still would have snuck the under home. So you could almost go over by accident. So I think 41.5 still feels a little low. So I'll lean over, but I don't really think there's a big enough edge to bet on it. But lean over, and the line seems dead on to me. I think the Titans should be a 2-point road favorite, and I think right now they are a 2-point road favorite. So sides pass.
Yeah, when you're on my side to bet, you don't bet. It's just don't do it. You and me together, not good. It's not good, buddy. So next time you love a bet of mine, and I love bet of yours, just pass. Weird shit happen.
We've been doing well on the VSiN show, though.
We have been on the Denver City Cast presented by Bet Rivers. My friend Keg comes on every Friday. Now we've changed the show to Friday, not Saturday. And he gives his picks, and I give my picks, and we have a good time. Okay, Mangone, here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at Deante. It's D'Onta Foreman this week, okay? He is not a guy that anybody wants to roster. He is, he's getting, 15 touches here, 20 touches a week. Look at what the Steelers have had opposing running backs do to them. Dalvin Cook, 205 and 2 touchdowns. Okay, he's really good, though. All right, the Ravens didn't do much. That's Lamar Jackson, but Freeman, 14 carries, 52 yards, touchdown. Joe Mixon, 165 and 2 touchdowns. Austin Eckler, 4 total touchdowns with 115 yards. DeAndre Swift, 130 yards rushing. They also had touchdowns from Igwebuike and Jamar Jefferson. You gotta have some interest in Foreman this week. I don't care what you say. Well, I do care what you say here, but the Steelers are a team to attack on the ground, man. Going.
Yeah, you can have interest in it. One thing to mention, what we say today could easily change, because of all the COVID stuff going on and just injuries late in the year. So definitely take it a little bit with a grain of salt. I do think the matchup is good, Holden. I like everything you're saying there. I think that makes a lot of sense. It depends on what the landscape of the slate is going to be. Is this going to be a slate where we need this cheap value? I don't know if we will. Also, it could be one of those guys like a Rashad Penny the other day. Bobby Gomes qualified for the live final that he's going to this weekend. So good luck to him. Good luck to Big T and anyone else that's in it. It could be like a 2% play that just absolutely no one is on. Right. And it could be a cheap guy that, let's say everyone's paying up at running back this week. Well, if no one's paying down for him, and he's just a virtually unknown. It definitely could be an interesting option because running back is really gross this week. There's not a lot of options. If you look at running back, you're not man, I need to have this guy in my lineup, at least right now on a Wednesday. There's no one I'm just man, that guy's way underpriced, has to be in my lineup. Also, on top of that, Holden, if you look at the structure of this slate, we want to play some of these other guys at the top at the receiver position. There's some really good receivers on the slate. I mean, Cooper Kupp at 9K with Noah Odell Beckham. I mean, that sounds like a good idea against Seattle in a dome as well. Devontae Adams is always intriguing, 8.9K. That Atlanta-San Francisco game, which is one that I like this week, I'm not ignoring Deebo Samuel at 8.2. So the point I'm getting at is you can make an argument to double spend up at receiver and go some of these cheaper running backs. So I think what you're saying makes some sense. And especially if he's going to be a virtually unknown guy, which I do think getting some of these unowned running backs is a really sharp play in tournaments. I kind of like it the more we talk about it. And you can correlate it with your defense as well, because listen, Big Ben is not that good. Big Ben is going to do his best to get the ball to these guys like Deante Johnson. But at the end of the day, it's pretty predictable that Ben is not going deep. And when a guy is not going to throw a deep ball, you know what can happen, Holden. Pick sixes very easily. Quarterbacks can read that and take it to the house. So I definitely don't hate the idea of correlating that together. Also think Julio Jones is not the worst option at 5'4". The problem is I just think there's some receivers I'd rather go to. It's mainly because of what his market share can be, right? And we know the Steelers defense is not that good, but he saw some pretty decent volume last week. I mean, he saw 6 targets in a game that they didn't even need to rely on him. Now, what if the Steelers do make this game close and competitive, which they easily could because the Titans are on the road. They're minus 1.5 favorites. So you expect it to be a little bit more competitive. I wouldn't be shocked if Julio got 8 to 10 targets and, broke one for a touchdown. It certainly could happen. I like Deante Johnson a lot, though, at 7.5K because of the PPR production that he's getting. And I expect it to be I expect it to be a lower scoring week. And on these lower scoring weeks, and with not as many touchdowns possibly scored, PPR is going to be a little bit more valuable. So I think Deante Johnson is a really good tight end play on this slate, or not tight end play, really good receiver play. And I do think that Pat Freiermuth is a really good tight end play at 4.5K on DK and 5.3K on FanDuel. So those are the guys I'm mainly targeting in this game. It is a 41.5 total, and it feels a bit gross getting some exposure to this game, but I don't know. I think it's a game that could be kind of interesting on the slate.
It's December, man. All these totals have come down. All of them have come down. By the way, Tennessee clinches the playoff spot with a win and an Indianapolis loss. So the first two games, we've had a lot to talk about with playoff implications. Same thing with Green Bay, Baltimore. But here's the deal, Keg. We don't know the status of Lamar Jackson right now. Let's act like he plays, but he's significantly hobbled, okay? Green Bay and Baltimore. And it is up on the boards, right? So, I mean, I'm trying to find the line, and I got it. Okay, +5 for the Packers, or for the Ravens at home. +4.5, +5. I'm seeing +5.5. 43.5 is the total. Ravens need this because they are not guaranteed a place in the playoffs right now. They're playing bad football. The Packers, on the other hand, seems like they're getting their mojo going. I feel like Aaron Rodgers could have another nice game here this week. He's been on fire. How do you want to handle this if Jackson is playing?
Yeah, that's the question. I mean, I guess the Packers didn't look bad against the Bears, but they didn't look great either. Despite them being down at half, I pretty much had all the confidence in the world that they were going to take control of that game in the second half and win it. And they even ended up surpassing the marketplace expectation when it was all said and done, and they covered a double-digit spread. So they basically did what they were supposed to do, but not much more. The Ravens, and whether I'll be betting this game probably depends on Lamar Jackson. I know Harbaugh said on Monday he wasn't positive, but he thought Lamar Jackson should be able to go this weekend. When he went down in that game and then the Browns started rolling, I thought that the Browns backers were all but guaranteed to cover that game. And the fact that they either pushed or got hooked in that game is crazy. But, I mean, I guess credit to the Ravens for fighting back in that game at the same time that the Browns started to crumble. I have this line at 7.5 on a neutral. And if Lamar Jackson doesn't play, I don't think that him not playing is baked into the cake at this point. I would expect this line to move if he doesn't play. So I have it at 7.5, which would make it 5.5 on the road for the Packers. Right now, there's maybe a half point worth of value on the Packers, but I think it's probably a wait and see for me, because if Lamar Jackson does play, I'm going to want to see how he looks and look to target this game live from a side perspective. As far as the total, I think it's also a wait and see, because I'll probably view this total differently if Jackson looks severely hampered or doesn't play at all. So I think that this is probably the premier game on the slate to live bet, because Lamar Jackson is such an important cog in the wheel that you really need all the data. It's not worth guessing when you can just bet this game live. So I'll probably be looking to attack this game live, and it's all going to depend on how good or bad Lamar Jackson looks. Now, if Lamar Jackson doesn't play and him not playing is actually baked into the cake, I'll be on the Packers.
Yeah.
If he doesn't play and the line's at 5, I'll be on the Packers. But I have a feeling that it's not baked in, and this line's going to move, because all signs point that he's going to play. So I don't really think that the books would want the exposure of hanging a line where he would not play. So if he plays, it's a live betting spot. If he doesn't play and I see the line at 5, I'll be on the Packers. As far as the total, it's all going to depend on whether he plays.
Yeah. I like the live betting angle. I do. It's always something to fall back on that we can be successful with too. So that's a great point there, Kegger. So as of right now, you got Brett Hundley practicing on Wednesday. I have a hard time, Mangone, thinking that Lamar Jackson isn't going to play in this one. But if his ankle is bothering him, I want nothing to do with him because he can't run. And that's the first thing. The second thing is Aaron Rodgers has got to stick out big time because the Ravens are 27th against the pass. Lots going on in this game to figure out still. What do you think, Mangone, as we sit here on this Wednesday from a DFS perspective?
Why do you want your quarterback to run, Holden? I mean, he's a quarterback, right? I mean,
he's better in the pocket, but you know this as well as I do. The dude,
I like calling him a running back. I'm just committing to the.
I know you do.
It's just, it has been a tough scene for the Ravens this year. Like, it's not their fault completely. All their struggles, like they've had a lot of injuries. So I will say that's one thing that's been unfortunate for them this year. But I think that I think the line would definitely move a ton if Lamar gets ruled out. So I do want to mention that. It would just skyrocket. I think you get it over the 7, right? I mean, it would just be massive. So if you do
that, and you bring up a good point that we mentioned last week, but I didn't mention today. I mean, that secondary for Baltimore is in such shambles. The backups are even basically in the hospital. So, I mean, I forgot to bring that up. They're decimated too in the Baltimore secondary. And I agree. I think you're probably right. I think the line probably moves almost a field goal if he doesn't play.
It's going past the 6 and 7 for sure, Keg. No doubt.
Yeah. Yep.
But I do think that this is a game that I'd want to be on the Packers right now. Like, I don't even mind grabbing the 5.5 right now. I don't think it's like the worst idea in the world. But yeah, DFS wise, it's an interesting spot because if you do think the Ravens can be competitive and like keep the pressure on the Packers, well, then they're not going to just pound the rock and establish it and stay up. What they're going to do is Rodgers is then going to be forced to throw the ball more. I think at first, yeah, you'll see him throw the ball, but as the game gets on, what do the Packers want to do in the second half when they're up? They're just going to chill, establish the run. And the Ravens are, if they are healthy enough and they can pull it off, they are a team. They're not I know the Bears did it on Sunday Night Football, but they are a team that you wouldn't be shocked if the Ravens were actually putting up points and putting the pressure on the Packers, where in DFS on a slate that's kind of really gross, I don't hate the idea of doing a game stack of this game because I know the firepower that can be on both sides compared to looking at some of these other games. Like you look at the Packers and Ravens, it's a 43.5 total, which is kind of dusty. But we talked about a 41.5 total, talk about a bunch of different guys there. And I don't see that game shooting out between the Steelers and Titans, but I see a better chance of the Packers and Ravens. And if you tell me no one's going to own these guys, which there's definitely a chance. Sure, I think Deante Adams gets ownership, but no one's loading up on Hollywood Brown, Mark Andrews, or any of the Ravens quarterbacks or running backs. And then on the Packers side, I don't think people are loading up on Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon because of the split situation that can be there. So it is an interesting game stack spot in tournaments, just load the barrel on and hope it does kind of shoot out a bit. And on these kind of slates that are really gross and we don't have any standout game, one game is going to get some ownership that gravitates towards it. If you can just find a game that's virtually unowned that shoots out, man, you could just be sitting on an absolutely just perfect spot and just fly up the leaderboards with just no ownership on your guys. So that's something I'm trying to find that game on this slate. I don't know if this will be the game that I go to for it, but I am trying to find the low owned game that I can just load up on that hopefully shoots out and other games done.
Okay, very good. Move on to our next game here.
A quick question. What was your take on how subpar the Packers defense looked against the Bears? Because I thought that they hadn't looked bad the 5 weeks prior. Do you think they just laid an egg?
Yeah, I think they kind of laid an egg. Also, I think they've also been playing. They've been playing a little over their head, in my opinion, too. So it's it could have just been regression back to the mean a little, where hey, you have a bad game. I don't think this Packers defense is as bad as it's been in the past. I think it's definitely a lot better than it was in the past, but I don't think it's just this absolute juggernaut that's going to stop people week to week. It's definitely it's a rough year in the NFL, right, Keg? I mean, it's not the greatest year talent-wise. So I do think this Packers defense is good enough to win a championship, though, right? They might not be a, Ravens, or Seahawks championship type defense that we've seen in the past, but they're a defense that can win a title, I think.
Okay. So with that being said, and the Packers special team, something to take a look at too, they're struggling. And they're actually there was a report that the Packers are scouring other teams' practice squads for starters on their special teams. So I feel like special teams is always something that's not taken into account enough, but it is one of the big three facets. Okay, like button would be nice. Like button would be nice. And then while you're at it, subscribe to the Run Pure Sports and Run Pure Bets YouTube channel, and our promo code right now, SABER15, SABER 15. It's our new projections system and optimizer, Saber Sim. It's been getting a ton of great reviews. You'll get that. You'll get Run Pure Sports, Run Pure Showdown, Run Pure Bets. $190 a year or a month, 190 a month. Nope. $127.90. Saber 15 is the code. Next game to get to, Seattle and the Rams. Wow, it's amazing how good Russell Wilson can look when he has a running game. He has not been the same guy, though, Keg. You know this, has not been the same guy since the finger issue and the surgery. They have struggled. I don't know what's going on with DK Metcalf. The Rams, on the other end, went in and dominated the Cards. This is the team we thought that they would be. And this has always been a fun rivalry, too. When the Seahawks were great and the Rams stunk, the Rams would win games there. I think this will be a close one. -4.5 for the Rams at home. Total 45.5. What do you got on Seahawks at Rams, Kegger?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, this was the game earlier in the year that Russell Wilson was hurt in, I think, wasn't it? Before he was out for 4 or 5 games. I thought this was the game. I know Seattle lost that game by more than 1 possession, but I think it was hard to gauge that matchup because Geno Smith, I think, played about half the game. If I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. So right now we have about 10 games of data with Wilson under center in 2021. And Seattle has looked below average, man, even with him as a starter. I just don't think that this offense is very good. They aren't explosive like Wilson offenses have been in the past, and they haven't been very consistent at all this year. Now, defensively, they are like 26th in DVOA, but the one bright spot, I would say, for the Seahawks team, at least recently, is they've given up 17 points or less on defense in 5 of the last 7 games. So while there haven't been many bright spots for Seattle, I do think that there's something to be said that they just don't give up a ton of points in these games. Now, granted, in that stretch, they did play Washington, Jacksonville, and the Texans. But, regardless, I'm not high on Seattle. I think they're a well below average team. And that's really all I have to say about them. As far as the Rams, JJ and I got our plays home in that game, against Arizona. You can make the argument that Matt Stafford had his best game of the year this week against the Cardinals on the road. I think that the offense certainly looked the best it has since Woods went down. And, even the defense looked really strong in that game, even though they were down Jalen Ramsey. So I thought it was the first game in a month plus where it felt like the Rams were back to looking as strong as they did the first 5 or 6 weeks of the year. Now, everybody was piling on the Rams for looking dreadful a few weeks back when they had that 3-game skid. But that was a stretch where they played Green Bay, Tennessee, and the 49ers. I didn't think that they would go 0-3, but those are solid football teams. And I think how bad they looked was overblown. I expect this team to keep the momentum going off the win in Arizona and beat Seattle this week. Now, the power ratings have Rams 6.5 points better on a neutral, which would make this game 8.5 in LA. So this line doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Now, am I right that Beckham will be out because of COVID? Is that accurate?
Well, if he is vaccinated, then he has a chance of playing. I mean,
okay. I saw like Fuller COVID out, Beckham COVID out. I was trying to look at the injury report.
That's another thing to take account of when you're handicapping this game. They closed the facility for 2 days, yesterday and today. Okay. So That is a very interesting point that we got to do. I just looked at the Browns and the Raiders. By the way, that game was the Browns -6. Now it's the Raiders -1.5 on the road. It's absolutely amazing. So Odell Beckham and Jalen Ramsey. I mean, it'll be interesting. Ramsey should come back, but it is the Beckham thing that is interesting. The Rams have been hit hard by this COVID. So
I think where I'm at is at 4.5. I have this line at 8.5. I can't see how there's a 4-point difference in my PR, even taking into consideration players being out for COVID. I still can't get to the point where there's not value on the Rams. So I definitely think that there is value on the Rams. I'm going to wait just to see how this COVID situation shakes out and who's going to play. But I definitely see a situation where I'm on the Rams building momentum off that Arizona Cardinals win, even if Beckham's out, because I think Kupp and Jefferson are enough with their other pieces. Like, I don't think Beckham is crucial, but, you know, you would love to have him. But that being said, I'm going to wait and see. But I think there's a shot I'll be on the Rams this week. And you did bring up an interesting point. These games always seem to be close between Seattle and the Rams, even when there's a large discrepancy in how good these teams are. But man, I'm just so down on Seattle. I don't care what they did last week. I just don't care. As far as the total, it feels a little light at 45, but not enough where I think you have to bet the over. It feels a little light, but I'll probably stay off the total. And I'm going to try to get on the Rams here in some type of way. I'm just going to wait and see how this COVID news breaks.
And thank you very much for you and JJ for giving me a couple winning bets on that one. It was spectacular. I had a single game parlay where I had the Rams money line. I had Cooper Kupp over his yardage total and Stafford over 2.5 touchdowns. That paid, but I did have my worst beat of the year, Kegger. I think I was talking to you about this recently. So I had Kyler Murray in game over 61.5 rushing yards. On the last, there's about 3 plays left. And I swear to God, the dude picked up 3 yards. And CBS Sports NFL.com had him at 62 yards.
Right.
I get credited in my DraftKings account with the over. I wake up the next morning. They officially gave him 61 yards, and they took the money back. I was like, shit, dude, I nailed it again.
I'll tell you what, man. We'll get to it next game. I was almost right there with you, where I would have suffered my second horrific beat in 2 weeks in a row.
It was. Well, imagine going to sleep, seeing the money in your account, waking up the next morning, and then doing a stat correction.
Yeah, that's tough to take. That's a tough one to take.
That was tough. All right, Mangone, wake back up, buddy. I don't know what you were doing over there. I'm sure it was something fun. But what do you think of these Rams now? At home again. And then on this, here's my first question. It'll be from the Seattle side. Are we buying into Rashad Penny this week?
Yeah, Holden, you know what I was thinking about? DFS stat correction. There's one guy in the industry way back. He lost, I think he was winning $1 million or some massive prize, right? Yeah. And Drew Brees took a knee, right? Game's over. He's taking a knee, and he went from first to second for losing the rushing yard. So there you go. So
it really is
for $1 million, I'd be on suicide.
Yeah. They misspotted it too. It's not because I lost it because he didn't get it. It was a bad spot. Yeah, I'm just like, what the fuck?
I think there's another NBA one like Russell Westbrook. Like I think like it was at a live final too. Like he either like had the triple double and then lost it the next day, and then that would have vaulted the guy in the first. Like and he shouldn't have. It's ridiculous stuff. But
it was a brutal beat. But what are you going to do? At least I was plus money because of those two guys and then my own bet. But that was a bad loss there with the Kyler one. But talk to me about Penny. Can we trust him?
So if he's not going to be owned again, I think it's like super interesting in tournaments. The reason I kind of like the Penny call last week too, was because you had a lot of guys playing Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. And yes, Tyler Lockett still had a good game, but DK Metcalf didn't, right? That leverages those teams. So I thought that was a pretty interesting approach. That's one thing that Bobby did that I thought was great. I do think these Rams, like, man, you're going to want to have exposure to them. Like, you're not ignoring Cooper Kupp and Van Jefferson. They're probably gonna have some really big games. This is gonna be probably like the best DFS game on the slate. Like 45.5 total. It's in a dome. It's that Rams offense. Like, it's a really bad slate. So you can make an argument, yeah, like Cardinals Lions is the highest total at 47.5, but you feel good about playing some Lions. You feel good about guessing which Cardinals are gonna score? Not exactly. So I think the Rams are like the best team to target on the entire DFS slate. They're going to put up points and just like pour it on. Like McVay just doesn't care. So I do think this is a game you're going to want to load up on, like a Stafford, Henderson, Sony Michel, depending on which running back is in there, Cooper Kupp and Van Jefferson. Like, you can make an argument just doing the Stafford and Cooper Kupp and Van Jefferson stack and moving on is just like the right move. Just like call it a day. And also on a slate that is really just gross like this, I definitely don't think you need to prioritize that run back for sure. If you are going to play like one of the lopsided games, don't feel like you have to throw that run back in. I don't think it's too necessary. Like, would you rather not put the run back in or put the run back of Lockett or Metcalf and like have a chance of guessing wrong? I don't know. I don't really want to guess that wrong. It's been very frustrating. And the Seahawks just lay an egg completely. So lots of ways this slate can go. Still tons of news that can happen, but I definitely want to make sure to prioritize some Ram stacks this week.
Cooper Kupp and Gerald Everett will be the two guys that I will prioritize as of now in this game. Okay.
I do like the Gerald Everett run back and putting him in a tight end spot. It's a punt position. I've been on Gerald Everett for a while, and I mean, just keep playing him. He's been great. So in tournaments, I love going to Gerald Everett as like the run back. I think that's really
nobody, Mango. No, I think I gave him that as one of my plays last week. Nobody was on him because he had that dreadful game the week before where he just fumbled and dropped a touchdown pass.
Yeah, the targets are there though. I mean, they're
and he was fine. He was fine last week. I mean, he didn't really break the.
So this is the thing. You did luck out. You got the touchdown. Yeah. Only got 2 targets, but that's fine. Like, that was like a really down game for him, and you kind of like lucked out. So it's like,
you're right.
I would go right back to the well with him. I don't think
I am. I probably will. Okay, like button, everybody. Mango, and I'm going to come right back to you. I want you to stay here with me. We're having some good DFS mojo here. We're going to go to the Saints game. Saints and Bucks. So here we go once again. Now, is this game, Kegger, did you pick a game off the main slate here? When is this game? Is this a Sunday nighter?
This is the Showdown slate. So
this is the Showdown slate. Okay, we'll go. Let's do this. It's okay. Listen, it's my fault for not double checking, so you can put this one on me, Kegger. Let's do a little Showdown slate action here, Mangone, because this is a really fun game. Saints and Bucks. Tom Brady looks like he's back. Kevin James is playing Sean Payton in Sean Payton's movie. But can we discuss this for a second? Do you know about this, Mangone?
No, but that.
Jeez, why the fuck doesn't this surprise me? Keg, have you seen this trailer for this new movie?
I have not.
Oh my God. Kevin James is playing Sean Payton during the bounty game.
I'm gonna be honest, Holden. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know how much traction is Sean Payton movies getting.
It's getting a lot because everybody is shitting on it. First of all, Kevin James looks nothing like Sean Payton.
Right, so
Second of all, it's a
Netflix movie, so that's the first thing. So
yeah, and then he's like, this is about his relationship with his son after being the offensive coordinator on a high school team. This is perfect bullshit, like Disney quality stuff. And I do not need Kevin James. Kevin James, easily one of the worst actors in the history of cinema. This Paul Blart Mall Cop. I watched 15 minutes of it.
That's settled.
Oh, you just like him because he's from your area. What a piece of shit actor he is. And now he's playing Sean Payton. He's like 300 pounds heavier than Sean Payton.
Well, here's the thing. So I know I'm not the pop culture guy, but Holden, you know, I'm
not listening to you.
When you're watching a Kevin James movie, you're not watching an Oscar performance. You're just watching for like
Paul Blart Mall Cop.
I mean, Holden, when you're watching Paul Blart Mall Cop, you're not watching it with your boys. You're watching it with like your kids. Like, you got to read the room a little bit here. Paul Blart Mall Cop is not man. It's just not.
Yeah, like those grown up movies with him and Sandler and Rock. They're great.
What? Which one? The one where they're in the pool together?
Yeah, like I enjoy. Bro, how dare you? I enjoy Kevin James, okay?
I mean, listen, we all have our faults, Keg, and that's just one of yours. It's not a big deal.
That's fair.
Simon just said yikes. I don't know which side it's for, so I'm excited.
I don't know if I got 3 Paul Blart Mall Cop guys versus me.
I'm not a Paul Blart Mall Cop guy. What I'm
yet you defend Kevin James.
Sometimes it's on you for trying to think that Paul Blart Mall Cop is for the 40-year-old man. It's not.
Who is he for? Who is Kevin James for? Seriously. Nobody.
Simon said, I can't back Kevin.
No, you can't back Kevin James. Thank God Simon's here. Even though he put me in a promo where Hoop completely owned Big T on the Hunter Renfrow thing. He put me in the boat with Big T like I was on his side there. No. My loyalty on that one was totally toward Hoop, and I can't wait till the cash show. Get that off my chest. Now, I'm sorry I said fire the guy that made it because I didn't know it was Simon. You can't fire him. He's too important. I'm just saying. Anyways, this show has got off the rails.
Someone say Simon is the Kevin James of RPS.
Simon is a national treasure. Okay, I'm a big.
You know what?
Simon.
Don't even do Saints Bucks. Let's not do DFS here. Do you have a bet on Saints Bucks, or can we just move on? We're running really long, anyways.
There's nothing to do with Saints.
Okay,
Bucks.
good.
So.
Keg. Saints Bucks.
I mean, do you want me to talk about the game? I could if you want me to.
If you want to, I mean, you came up with it. 10.5 is the line.
I mean, I think it's one of the. I just think it's one. This is not a great slate of games to bet on.
Talk to me about it.
Yeah, I mean, I just figured Tampa's playing. Might as well talk about them. It was a tough one last week. We were in cruise control at halftime. We were on the Bucks. The game was going exactly how we thought it was going to go. JJ and I did that Sunday morning show. I thought that we both nailed it perfectly. And then the Bucks just started to stall in the second half on offense, and the Bills started catching their stride late. And before I knew it, man, the Bills down 24-3 at the break, and they're driving to send the game into overtime or win the game. It was horrific. But luckily the Bucks got the stop in OT, we got it. But man, I mean, some of these games where you don't think you're going to be sweating, it's brutal. As far as the Saints, I don't think that the Saints looked bad at all in that game against the Jets on Sunday. They beat up on a really crappy team in the Jets because even still with Taysom Hill, the Saints are a class above the New York Jets, and I really don't think I'm going out on a limb there. So, this is a very different test. Granted, they were able to get the win the first time that these teams played each other earlier in the year. But, that was with Simeon. It wasn't with Hill. So I think they're at a disadvantage the second time around. Plus, they're on the road. But, they're hanging a very big number in this game. And the question is the line too big? My power ratings have the number 10.5 on a neutral. So I would have this line at like 12.5 in Tampa Bay. So I don't really think this number is high enough at 11, but you really can't make a living laying 10.5 every week in the NFL.
No,
but I think the Bucks are the side here. So I'd probably be looking to take advantage on how strong the first half team Tampa Bay is. They're the best first half team in football. They crush their first half team totals. They crush their first half spreads. So, I think the first half spread is 6. So I think either laying 6 in the first half or attacking the first half team total, it's 14.5, which I wish he didn't have to deal with the hook. But even still, they've been such a juggernaut getting, stomping on teams early. I still think they're going to get over 14.5. So as far as that's where I'll be looking. I'll probably have some kind of action on Tampa Bay in the first half. And the total feels light to me. What do you think about this total, Trav? I think both these teams can get this total up and over 46.5. So I'm going to lean over on the total here. What do you think about the total?
Yeah, I also think the defense can help with it too, because some of the, Taysom Hill could definitely be a disaster out there for sure. So, and this could just be like a lopsided game too. So, I don't disagree. It's Brady is just the thing that's nice about Brady too is one, you have a guy that's going to pass a ton, right? This is how their offense is. So that leads to the slower games, more possessions, which is nice. And then it is going to be hard for the Saints to run the ball. It's simple. It's not going to be easy with V2V there. So they are going to have to pass more, and that just leads to more possessions. And when that happens, that's just like you get, if it doesn't get over that total, right? A couple extra possessions here and there, it can really just help get you right over the top there. So I like it, Keg.
Yep.
So I have to ask you a question that's not football related. Then we'll get into the Bengals, Broncos, and Kansas City and the Chargers. My daughter's going to be 7. I'm not as familiar with Santa as you guys are. When did you guys learn the truth? The truth. And if there's any kids watching, guys and girls, don't worry about the truth. The truth doesn't matter. How old were you?
Abby is just turned 13, and she was about like 8 or 9 years old.
Okay, so soon.
Mango? Finally realized Santa was a joke.
Well, you're gonna have to. I think the thing you have to watch is like other kids, right? Because like how long can you keep it going on for? You also don't want to like lie to your kids, but
I don't. So she asked me about it, and I'm very just ambiguous about it.
Yeah, Mangone brings up a good point, because that's how my daughter found out. My daughter came home from school and she was like, "There are way too many kids at school that say Santa's complete shit, Dad."
Yeah.
So
I think eventually, whenever the time comes, you tell them, but you obviously say like, "Hey, like to make sure you weren't lying to them." You're like, it's a fun thing that we do, right? And kids like
it's just another lie. It's just another lie that the government tells you.
I think it's.
How about this?
Hold in. Think about your kid, right? I want you to soak in, because your kid still thinks Santa's real. I want you to soak in on Christmas morning or whenever. I don't know if you're going to see them on Christmas morning, but whenever they come over and see the tree, soak in their face when they see it, man. I mean, it's like they think there's like a magical guy that like literally travels around.
I'm never there with them
with a bag and puts the Christmas presents under every tree. Like their face lights up. It's a good thing, man. I mean,
I'm not saying it's not a good thing. I'm just saying that, first of all, I'm never around them. They're going to be in Puerto Rico this year. Second of all, my ex told my daughter at 2 that he wasn't real. But she was just, she forgot about that.
So let me tell you what you have to look forward to.
Okay.
So my daughter finds out at around 8 years old that Santa is bullshit, right? Fast forward 5 years later, which is where I'm at right now. And she's like, "Dad, I want a couple months back." She's like, I gave her like a tier. And I was like, "If you do this, I'll buy you a MacBook Pro for Christmas. If you do this, you'll get a brand new, full-size iPad," right? So she didn't hit the MacBook Pro tier. So she hit the new iPad tier. So like I spend like $1,200 like the other morning, right? And she sends me a random message the next day. She's like, "Hey, Dad, did you get that iPad yet?" And I'm like, "Yeah, actually, I ordered it yesterday." And she says to me, "Did you get me an Apple Pencil with it?" I said, "I don't even know what an Apple Pencil is." She says to me, "I just want you to know that if that iPad doesn't come with an Apple Pencil, send it back. I don't even want it because I'll be devastated." So that's what you have to look for 5 years.
So, Keg, this is a user error on your part. This is what I would have done. I would have just said, "You know what? Write that to Santa, and then I'll send him the list." You know what I mean? Like I would use Santa as my scapegoat always, and also I would use Santa as my scapegoat to get some cookies. Make my kids put the cookies out the night before.
At 13, you can't use that at 13.
Yeah, I'll just say, well, you know what? If you don't put those cookies out tonight, maybe Santa doesn't happen to show up at the house. Even at 13, I'll still say it, okay? Because you know what? It's not that hard to put some cookies out, and the kid will still probably do it for you.
I had to order an Apple Pencil. I actually ordered an Apple Pencil too for $100.
Okay. Well, don't worry about it. I just took my kids to Legoland. And now I got this freaking Great Wolf Lodge. I mean, I'll be broke too. I mean,
You guys
it's
are
not
losing
cheap.
the power struggle here. I don't know. Again, I'm not a parent though, so maybe I'll probably lose the struggle at some point too.
I'm definitely losing the power struggle. That's 100% accurate.
All right, let's move to the Bengals and Broncos. This line has seen a little bit of movement, Kegger. I saw it at 1. I saw it at 1.5. I saw it at 2.5, and now I'm seeing it at 3, and then back to 2.5. I don't know what the movement is. Why it's more just the amount of movement than anything else. And it's this morning I saw it at 2. I saw it at 3, 2.5 at most books now. The total's 44. Listen, it's been very profitable, even though last week didn't cash. Been very profitable betting the under on Broncos games at this point. 10-3 to the under. So give me a little rundown of this one.
Yeah, the look-ahead line was Bengals -3. When I was looking into this game yesterday for the show, the line was actually 1.5. So it's gone back and forth. Right now, it's 2.5 at DK. So you're right. It's been all over the map, and I'm not sure why, because I'm not seeing any earth-shattering injury news that's going to sway these moves. So listen, the Bengals game was just another game this week in a string of Week 14 games that had these crazy, incredible comebacks, because I thought that the Bengals were pretty substantially outplayed the first 3 quarters in that Niners game. The Niners had the ball at midfield at the start of the fourth quarter, up 2 touchdowns. And, the Bengals got their shit together. They managed to tie the game. They managed to get it to overtime. But I think that the outcome of the game and the line, it reminds me of that Falcons game. After the Falcons played Tampa, the line didn't seem right in that Carolina game, because that game was much closer in Tampa against the Falcons. And I feel like the opposite is true here. I feel like the final score of that game is not a fair representation of how bad the Bengals actually looked for the majority of that game against San Francisco. But, San Fran ends up winning the game. The Niners scored the game-winning touchdown in OT, so that was cool, I guess. It was another week where I wasn't very impressed with the Bengals either way. The Broncos, they didn't look bad on Sunday, but here's the thing, bro. They played the closest equivalent to a college football team that the NFL has right now. I mean, Detroit, and you consider it wasn't just the Lions, it was the Lions decimated with injuries off their first win in 12 games. So you can't give the Broncos a ton of credit there for what they did, but it is their 4th win in the last 6 games after having that stretch where they dropped 6 of 9. So, it appears that they've been righting the ship in Denver. I know, Holden, you've been watching Denver really, really close this year. I know you initially got me on the unders, which you're right. It's been targeting that. It's been a profitable spot for the majority of the year. Now, as far as the line, I have both these teams dead even on a neutral field. So this line for me should probably be Denver at home -2. And right now they're 2.5. So I don't really see a ton of value on either side in terms of the side. As far as the total, Kush, me and you do this Friday show, the Denver City Cast with Veaston, and this has to be the highest total that me and you've talked about in a Denver game in weeks. 44.5. No?
Yes. No question. They're all in the low 40s. And then you throw into account this week, the Packers Ravens has a lower total. The Rams and the Seahawks right there. Niners Falcons right there. I mean, there's all these games are just, and we got that game in the 30s with the Texans and the Jaguars. All these games. And this is actually one of the higher totals when you take that into account.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. 44 seems about where you would think it should be, because the Bengals have the upside of being able to explode when everything locks in offensively. But these Denver games have just gone under so consistently. But Denver's capable of putting up points too when everything locks in for them. So I feel like if both these offenses are humming, this game is going to fly over. But if we see what we've seen from Denver all year long, especially at home, it feels like under 44 is the play here again, doesn't it?
Yep. I'm not there yet. I want to see the weather, but it's been gorgeous here, and it should be short sleeves weather once again. Absolutely fascinating how warm it's been here. All right, Kegger, let's go over to man going for the DFS side here. The running games, maybe. T. Higgins, 3 straight 100-yard games. I know Chase is kind of the tournament option there, but Higgins is kind of a tournament option too right now, especially with the volume that he's getting. And on the Denver side, again, to me, it's the running game if you want to target anything. And that would be it. Maybe T. Higgins or Jamar Chase. Talk to me.
Yeah, I know both sides would like to run the ball here if they can, but I would like it if it could turn into a shootout and Bridgewater's willing to throw deep, right? And put up some points. So is Joe Burrow if the Bengals let him. So I do think this is an interesting game stack spot. And there's a lot of guys you can plug and play in your lineups, like Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, even CJ Uzomah. There's a lot of guys that you can throw into a game stack here on the Bengals side and on the Broncos side. I mean, you obviously have to like Javonte Williams, 6.1K, Melvin Gordon, 5.9, and then even Sutton, Judy, Patrick, they're all guys you can mix and match throughout your lineup. So I do think it's an interesting game stack spot. It's not as great for cash games, but in tournaments, if you can hit the right guys, this could be a game that shoots out that doesn't have as much ownership. And I think it's definitely one I'm going to look at.
Okay. We'll put that game in the books. Like button would be wonderful. I know we got a higher than 50% ratio between likes and viewers, so that's nice. Let's keep that up, even if you're watching on demand. And then on demand, I guess on tape. And we got Kansas City and the Chargers for the showdown here. So let's do this. Let's do Kansas City and the Chargers, and we'll start from the betting side. Keg, Chiefs -3 on the road. Who knows what we're getting out of the Chargers? 51.5, 52, 52.5 are the totals that I'm seeing right now. But I need to start on the Kansas City side first. This offense, are we really going to trust it to put up points? They're just not the same. And this defense has turned into a monster over the last few weeks.
Didn't they just hang 50?
That was the Raiders a while ago, and then they didn't look nearly as good against the Raiders this past week.
They just hung 50 last week.
Against the Raiders?
The Chiefs.
They put up a lot of points, but Tyreek Hill and Kelsey did nothing. But they did.
Is that why I think did they play the Raiders last week? Is that what the game was?
Yep.
Yeah, it was like 40. It was like
right.
40.
And I take Raiders games. I throw them out the window.
I'll tell you what,
they're idiots.
The one thing about the Chiefs this year is they have been substantially higher scoring on the road this year. Yeah, they're only averaging, I think, 23 at home, but something like 35 plus or somewhere close to that on the road this year. Listen, the one team that I swore off betting on their games this year was the Chargers, because I cannot get a Charger game right. But in saying that, I do think that the Chiefs have looked fundamentally better than the Chargers right now. And I do think that they're going to win this game. Now, I haven't decided how I'm going to attack that yet, whether it's going to be to target the Chiefs team total over or the Chargers team total under, but I am going to bet one of them. But I do think I'm going to be looking to back Kansas City in this game in some type of way. Once I bet something in this game, it will be on our spreadsheet for subscribers. I do like the Chiefs side. I'm just not high on the Chargers, man. I haven't been all year, and they have found every opportunity to fuck me along the way this year. So I'm leaning towards taking the Chargers team total under. But at 27.5, I don't mind the Chiefs team total over, because I'm not particularly in love with this Chargers defense right now either. So I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm leaning towards the Chargers team total under, but I'm not opposed to possibly backing the Chargers team total over either.
Listen, Mangone, Showdown, everybody is open, right? I'm still just baffled by how bad this Kansas City offense is. And I guess I should have prefaced it because they face the Raiders, who like to run a cover 3. They did that the first time. Mahomes owns the Raiders. This is different. I mean, this is the Chargers now, but I don't have faith in this offense until they prove it to me. And I don't think last week proved it. So what are we doing here? Clyde Edwards-Helaire, there's a bet up on the sheet. I was on that bet too. I love it. I love Clyde Edwards-Helaire this week. But on a Showdown slate, does he have enough to win you the slate? So can you start with the Chiefs side, and then we can get on to the other side with the Chargers?
Yeah, I mean, I have faith in the Chiefs. They're just taking what's given to them, Holden. They're just taking all the underneath stuff, which is fine. Like, if that's what you're going to give them, they're winning games. I mean, what do you want? What more do you want them to do? They're winning. It's not like they're losing, right?
Mm-hmm. It'd be nice to see their offense explode again.
Well, I mean, they're putting up points, but it's just like they also don't have to explode, because what's happening is everyone's giving them all underneath stuff. And when you're up and they're giving you underneath stuff, well, what are you going to do? You're just going to like pound the rock and just like, take the short underneath stuff and just play a slower game. It's just how it is right now, where that means you don't have to jam in a Tyreek Hill and a Travis Kelce. Of course, they still have touchdown equity, because if they get the red zone, they have the opportunity to score. Also think that the Chargers are the right team to maybe put that pressure on it and actually, put up a lot of points where you might see the game explode a little bit more, and it's in a dome. That's helpful too. So I do think you expect to see that Showdown. A lot of it's going to be is where's a lot of the ownership, where's a lot of the pricing going to be at. I think that's going to be important. And I'm not going to sleep on a lot of these studs. I need Herbert, Eckler, Allen, Kelce, Hill, Mahomes. There's so many guys that you can roster up top. So many different ways you can go. I do think I lean liking some of these Chargers studs over the Chiefs ones. And I think I'm going to kind of lean going a 4-2 Chargers stack, Holden. I think a 4-2 stack with the underdog has been one thing that's worked out a lot for me. I didn't do it last week because, or on Sunday, because the Bears, I just didn't believe in the Bears to be able to play 4 guys on that team. But yeah, I think I'm going to do it here with the Chargers. I'm probably going to play 4 Chargers. I'll probably play 2 Chiefs. I don't know which 2 yet, but there's a chance too. Maybe I fade Mahomes because Mahomes hasn't put up massive scores. Maybe I play one of the running backs and like a Tyreek Hill or a Travis Kelce. And, I think that's an interesting route to go, because if you just fade Mahomes, a lot of people will play him, and that's the way to just get unique right away.
All right, guys, that'll do it for the program today. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us. Let's see here. We got 80-mile-an-hour winds here. We got 80-mile-an-hour winds coming up on AP. I know if something, I think a play set in AP's neighbor's yard stays up in 80-mile-an-hour gusts, that he might be giving away some tickets tonight. I think Big T's giving out some tickets too. So if you're sitting here on this Wednesday, make sure you tune in to the Hardwood Show and the Up to Lock Show in the NBA. Once again, our promo code SABER15, SABER15. You get the new Saber Sim simulator and optimizer. At least it's new with us. You get the bet side, and you get Run Pure Sports and the Showdown site. Instead of $190 a month, it's $127 a month. Best deal you were going to find in the industry. I'm telling you right now. Saber, SABER 15, Saber 15. Kegger, wonderful to see you. Mangone, wonderful to see you. Catch up on your Kevin James movies. And Simon, thank you for being on my side with Kevin James, because he's a shitty actor and there's no reason to see him. And while you're at it, Simon, why don't you get us out of here?